Here we go again. Sunday, January 29th, 2019. Today's message falls on the heels of the 3 or 4 preceding messages, grounded in the book of Job, the book of Job. That book of Job has a certain magnetism inside of it. The deeper you dig into it, the deeper you are drawn into it. I tried to get out of this book of Job in 2 Sundays. Couldn't do it. It's 42 chapters in that book. And the book is all about the sovereignty of God. And that is not something that you can just hit and quit. Although it's all tied up, wrapped up, tangled up inside this right here, inside God's Bible. But once you get that book of Job, it's hard to get away. So I'm going to try to wiggle my way through it again today. I have couched, C-O-U-C-H-E-D, this message in a courtroom scenario in which God the judge is present, Job the accused is present, and Job's 3 friends are prosecuting, bringing charges against Job, and there inside the court was Elihu, an unbiased, objective, neutral moderator. That's a courtroom scene. I'm going to ask you to go with me to the 42nd chapter of the book of Job. And just read along as I do likewise, beginning at the 8th verse, 42nd chapter of Job. We find these words: Therefore take unto you now 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you. For, said, my servant Job will pray for you. And there's a full colon in there. Note that punctuation. For, or because him will I accept, lest I deal with you after your folly, in that ye have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. So, move on to verse 9. So Eliphaz the Teemite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, they went and did according as the Lord commanded them. The Lord also accepted Job. Whew. I'm going to do this 10th verse and then go ahead and take off. Verse 10 says, And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. I want to try to give this message a subject, but it's such a vast and sweeping territory, spiritual territory, that academic discipline just fails me in this regard. So finding a subject that would fit this text is a challenge that I find exceedingly difficult. But my feeble attempt resulted in this subject: God's prescription. God's prescription. Everybody, mama, dad, brother, sister, and the baby have all at one time or the other had a prescription filled out to cure an ailment of sorts. Something wasn't right in the human body, and a prescription was required in order to set things right. Now, we just came out of the government shutdown, and there could not have been anything much that was right about that. And the United States of America today needs God's prescription. We need right relationships. Relationships that need to be mended. That, in a nutshell, is what this message is all about. I want to submit to you at the outset that there is a prescription and a cure for any sickness that falls upon a person or a society. There is a prescription for any disease, ailment that come upon mankind. Bad and poor understanding, misunderstanding, was the real problem in this courtroom scenario involving Job and his accusers, the moderator, and God. An understanding deficit. Never mind the national deficit. Poor and bad understanding was the real problem between Job and his friends. Now, what kind of problems do you have between adversaries? I know I have some. But thank God that today, when we go to the courthouse, peep in on Job, we get a solution, a prescription to the problem. We're not exempt from problems. We never will be exempt from problems. But God gave the solution to the problem, and he did so in such a majestic, in such a splendid way in which all sides came out as winners. These courtrooms you go to today, every time you go, somebody's going to lose. Some side is going to get the, some side is going to lose. But when God is a judge and God issues a decision in a case, if the participants follow the judge's orders, everybody is going to win. I want to submit to you, my friends, that obedience, the obedience of Job's friends, yielded the healing that they desperately needed. Well, what was wrong with them, Reverend? Well, I'll tell you what was wrong with them. They thought that they were right. They thought that they knew God's working ways. They thought, but they thought they were wrong. And that was a sin. And they needed a healing and deliverance from that condition. They needed to get right with God. They needed to get right with Job. Same for us today. The prescription, the court order, required them to go to Job, the three that fought him so bitterly, so hotly, so ably. They had a good argument. It's just a wrong argument, but it was a good argument. I got to hurry. 12 minutes gone. But God told him to go to Job and you get 7 rams, 7 bullocks, and get right with Job. Make that burnt offering. He told him, now listen, you watch this. Now watch this carefully. He said, you go to Job and don't go empty-handed with just a mouth full of words. Don't even go to Job and say, we're sorry. Don't even go and apologize. You go and do something. Take something with you. That burnt offering. And this was the judge's orders and the doctor's prescription. In this transaction, Job had a job to do as well. He was a party in the case. He was the accused. And the court order required activity on his part. Job had a job to do, and his job was to pray for his friends. And nothing happened. His condition didn't change until he prayed for his friends. Both sides took the medicine, took the prescription, and I'm going to drop this in here and rush onto my seat. That Hagen fella, Kenneth Hagen, I believe it was, put out that little booklet called God's Medicine. And I looked in my medicine cabinet to see if it was in there this morning, but it wasn't in there. It wasn't in there. I think it's in the medicine cabinet in my old house. I moved to my new house. I didn't transfer the contents of my medicine cabinet, but God's medicine is his word. And he gave word to both sides in the case to take action. Not just do a whole lot of cheap talk, but take action. That passage in James says, for the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. Job the righteous prayed for his friends, and that prayer was predicated upon a forgiving heart. Both sides needed the medicine, the divine prescription that God alone gave. Now, what about you today, my friend? Have relationships between you and others, friends or family members, turned sour? Have your relationships gone from bad to worse? I want you to know today that there's hope in this message. I'm rushing to my seat now because 15 minutes gone. But oh, the joy that filled the place. When the medicine took effect. Do you want God's joy today, my friend? His medicine is in his word, the Bible. There was a celebration after the prescription was taken. We got a glimpse in that celebration of heaven. All of Job's brothers, all of his sisters, all of those who were acquainted with him came and had bread with him. One day when we entered the celestial city, some will come from the east, some come from the west, some come from the north, some come from the south. But we'll meet in the celestial city. And we just get a glimpse of that meeting, the rejoicing when brothers and sisters get together. David said, oh, how sweet and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Look her there. Got to go now. I'm going to slip this in there. Each man at the celebration gave Job a piece of money. That was the Bible. I didn't say that. And then they gave him a piece of gold to go with the money. Women were there. I reckon they was broke. But the men gave Job, every one of them gave Job a piece of money. What have you given to me here lately? Listen, I got to give you what God gave to me. Jesus said, if you have any burden, any problem, any condition, no matter what it is, simply come to me, and I will in no wise cast you out. I will give you rest. Just come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. Are you carrying a heavy burden? Bring it to Jesus today. If you carry a burden, you need rest. Come to Jesus. Just pray the sinner's prayer and say to him, I believe, Jesus, that you died. And I believe that God raised you from the dead. Will you be so kind as to save my soul today? He'll do it, my friend. You just come to Jesus. Now unto him who's able to keep us from falling, he's able to present us faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding great joy. The only wise God, to whom be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now, henceforth, and forevermore. God bless you. Take the prescription. You need to go